So let's get into those. The first one, let's talk about Texas at Arkansas. The line was 13.5. We took Texas to win, Arkansas to cover. That is exactly what happened. A nice little middle sandwich right there. I mean, well, this kind of came down to, and I didn't think it was going to be the case. I said I like Taylon Green, against teams that don't have a particularly great pass rush, but Texas getting home 6 times. I mean, that have a big impact on the quarterback that was already a bit gimpy to start with. You know,
Yeah, it was big. I will say, and I have been hesitant to buy into Texas's defense, but if they're going to win the SEC, obviously Quinn Ewers and that offense has to play better, but that defense has been, I think, very, very impressive. I cannot really think of a single game where I've left it being like, this kind of gave me some worries, and I think obviously part of it
mm-hmm.
is who they've played, but I think also replacing all those players they lost, especially in that front seven, and even the injuries they battled in the secondary, very, very impressive. What they're doing, getting out to the quarterback, tackles for loss, putting people behind the sticks, it's awesome. And for Arkansas, with a frisky quarterback like Taylor Green, those negative plays, they kind of hurt you. And they can happen in bundles. And we saw that. Obviously, Arkansas made it a close game. They just couldn't get out of their own way in that first half. So it was almost too big to come down from. But happy for Texas for getting a win here. They're kind of just survive and advance here. I mean, for whatever reason, the committee just absolutely loves them. So they don't really have to have any style points. All they got to do is really win out and take care of business, and they'll be sitting pretty in the playoffs. But this was a trap game, not a trap game. This was a losable game for sure. And this is a game that Texas teams in the past have lost. And I think Sark, when he's done there, very, very, you just got to take it sometimes in the NCC. Wasn't pretty, but you won with your B game, your off speed pitch, and that's impressive too. I think so. I think you got to give them credit when they do win football games.
I mean, I think well, one, getting Jaden Blue going was pretty big. I mean, you haven't really seen a whole lot of him this whole season, aside from the first couple weeks of the season. So, um, seeing him get going a little bit, was nice. I know it wasn't perfect, but at 80 something yards, uh, that's nice. That's nice production from him that you're going to get. I'll also say too, like Arkansas ended up cutting this to 3 in the fourth quarter, but I still felt like I still wasn't too worried about Texas. Maybe Texas fans will disagree with that, being having some of that PTSD from some of those bad losses that they've taken in the last decade. But I just I thought, like you said, their defense just looked really good, and I wasn't nervous honestly for Texas. I had a feeling Arkansas. Okay, maybe Arkansas covers this game. Maybe it's close, but I just still felt good about Texas. Man, I don't know. I mean, if you're gonna box score snipe this, I mean, it's not like Texas dominated, but they won. They won a football game in a tough environment against a not bad football team.
Yeah, can I ask you this? Do you think this Texas team is better than last year's?
No.
I think last
No, I
year's
think
had
the
more.
secondary is much improved. I'll give you that. Preventing explosive plays, I think that's a big deal. And I think that helps. But if Texas had that offense that they had last year, right, in this year's secondary, I mean, I don't know. This Texas team would be really, really tough to stop. It already is. I mean, they're
They're
what are they,
nine and
9-1?
one.
So
Yeah,
it'd be interesting if they had this year's secondary and Tavondre Sweat and Byron Murphy. I mean, holy cow, that defense would be stupid nuclear, right? And then you wouldn't even need last year's Texas offense, honestly, to win the national championship. I think you would have the best defense in the country.
yeah. I think this team is like the last year's team. You're seeing like elite players play really, really well in the NFL as rookies, and I think that's pretty telling of how the top end talent was there with Texas. But I think this team is a little bit deeper and a little bit more complete and can win with their off speed pitch, which has been impressive this year. And I think we're all kind of waiting for a flip to switch for Sark and Quinn Ewers and Isaiah Bond and Silas Bolden and Golden and obviously the tight end Helm, and where's the transfer from Alabama, and so we're kind of waiting on it to all click together, and maybe it just won't. But I think if it does, that's when you do get a pretty scary output. But a win's a win. A win is a win. And for Sam Pittman, has he kept his job? I mean, if he beats Louisiana Tech,
I think so, dude.
going
I
bowling.
absolutely think so.
They had a
Uh,
tough schedule. And I
yeah,
heard the same thing with A&M, where like all their tough games were at home, and or like their big games, right? It was Texas A&M, Tennessee,
Texas A&M is
Ole
neutral
Miss,
site, but
Texas.
yeah,
I guess so, yeah, with Dallas. But
but your
looking
point
back to
stands.
the yeah, looking back to, I guess, not a road environment really is what I'm trying to say. Looking back to that Oklahoma State loss, I know it was a much different team back then, but that hurts, I think, a lot.
Yeah,
And I don't think people are talking about that enough, because that team is terrible. And
yeah.
you'd be at 6 wins, you'd be up to 7 wins soon. So looking a lot different.